Mindsetters, welcome to today's Grade 12 Business Studies show, proudly brought to you by Macmillan. We have selected highlights from lessons shown early in the term to help you revise. You can download the notes for today's show from learnextra.co.za/live. Now it's time to get on with today's lesson. Please post your comments and questions on our Facebook page, facebook.com/learnextra, and on Twitter @learnextra, so we can help you with your revision.
All right, so the first question is, describe 4 benefits of implementing quality control measures in the business. Right, so obviously, as you can see there, if we've got a good quality product, we're going to be able to sell lots of it. Right, so that's one of our benefits there. Tebogo, do you know any other benefits? What do you think?
Benefits of
quality control in the business?
Oh, okay. You get to see if your product is obviously good enough for everyone.
Right, absolutely. We get to see if our product is good enough for everyone. Right, so you need to have that in there because we want to grow our customer base. Right, so let's see what they say here. Right, so fewer product defects. Right, that's massive there. If I'm at a restaurant and every second meal that is going out is not up to my standard or up to my specification, I've lost all of that money. The money that it cost me for the raw materials, the money that it cost me to pay my employees to make that, the time, and the bad public relations I'm getting. If someone walks out of my restaurant and says, oh, that food was absolutely terrible, they're going to put it on Twitter and Facebook and complain and say, don't go to this restaurant. Right, where it's the other way around. If the food is absolutely amazing, you're going to say to your friends, if you want an amazing meal, go there. You're going to get value for money and the food is absolutely amazing. Next, that comes into place there. More consumer satisfaction. If your consumers are satisfied, they're going to want more of your product. So when I go to this pizzeria that I've been going to since 1989, I always want more. I will travel an hour just to go and get a pizza from them because I know what I'm getting from them. I know it's going to be quality. Right, lower production costs, that's massive. Again, that comes into the restaurant example. If every second meal I'm wasting all my raw materials and my ingredients, I mean, that's costing me money. Where if I'm doing it properly, I know I'm using my resources efficiently and effectively. So it's going to add to my bottom line and make my business a lot more profitable. We got higher productivity. So if I got quality and my employees are quality, that means they're going to be able to work more. Right, so if we go back to that football example that I gave you, if I've got the best players in the world and they work hard and they know what they're doing, that means they're going to achieve a lot more. Where if I have inferior football players that don't know what they're doing, I'm going to have to work even harder to try and get them up to the basics. That means I'm not teaching them anything new, right? And they're not achieving our vision and our objectives and our mission that we set out in the beginning of the business. Right, we have increased sales by word of mouth. Their products are of good quality. That goes back to my pizza example. Right, people want to go there. They're like, this food is absolutely amazing. And then they're going to tell someone else. Where if you have a bad experience with someone, you're not going to want to go back there. You're going to tell your friends, avoid there. Right. Increased profits. Right, if I'm using my goods effectively, then I'm going to make sure that I'm selling more. The more products I sell, the more money I'm going to make. And that's what we want to do in business. Business is all about making money. Right, and the possible expansion of the business. Now, I remember I started when I was in grade 1. My mother took me to this amazing Portuguese chicken place, and the chicken was absolutely amazing. Now, that chicken franchise, I remember the original store in Rosettenville. We loved going there. They've expanded now that they are all over the world. You can find them in Dubai, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, all over South Africa, right? Because they had good quality products. Good quality products means that we're going to be able to expand our business, and that's what we want. We want to create more employment opportunities. We want to create more money. We want to take advantage of more situations. Right. Describe the marketing function and explain how the quality of its performance can influence the success of the business venture? Right, so let's have a look there. So, right, marketing refers to the activities that involves getting the right products to the right place at the right price and advertising it in the best possible manner in order to satisfy the needs of the consumers. Right, so if we got fast-moving goods, right, we're going to want, and we're trying to capture a large audience. We're going to advertise in a large way. We're going to advertise on TV because that reaches a large amount of people. And we also have to make sure that we got the right product at the right time. There's no point in me bringing out a phone that doesn't have a color screen and that's boring now, because people don't want that. People have got smartphones. They're looking for something that enhances their life rather than something that's boring. So I shouldn't bring that product out. Okay. Now let's look at quality performance. Marketing the product at the price that will attract the customers. Right. So if you look, some products, they come across as value for money. People want that. Right. That's what they want. Some products are marketed at a premium price. They're trying to attract the top people in South Africa to go and buy their product. So they'll market a lot differently. A can of cold drink is marketed a lot differently from a very fancy sports car. Their marketing will be different. Continually changing the nature of the product, right? So we have to keep up to date with what people want. If you look at phones, before people just wanted to do SMS and make a phone call. Now people on their phones, they want Twitter, Facebook. They want to be able to share photos with their friends. They want color displays, right? They want to look at YouTube. They want all of those features. And it's changed dramatically from when I got my first phone in 2001. All I wanted to do was SMS my friends and make a phone call. Now people want more features, right? And it's going to grow more and more. You've got to see at what your customers want. And then the last one there, marketing in such a manner so as to obtain a greater share of the market. Right, that's what we want. We want to gain even more customers. We want to gain more people, because more people means that we're going to be able to buy more goods and expand by offering more goods and services to our people. Let's go back. I've got a nice table for you guys that we can go through. Right. So now we're going to look at the different characteristics of the different forms of ownership. Now, it's very important that you guys know this. So if we look at the characteristics of a partnership and a close corporation, and what I suggest that you guys do is that you have this table down for all of the 5 different forms of ownership so that you guys can see the differences between the two. So we're going to be going into a partnership and a close corporation. So who owns a partnership? Right? It is owned by the 2 to 20 partners. Close corporation by the 1 to 10 members. Right, so look there. Partners, members, right. Legal personality of a partnership. Right, it is not a legal person. Right, when we look at a close corporation, it is a legal person. Can you see the difference between the two there? Right, the autonomy. Right, there is none in a partnership. In a close corporation, 1 to 10 members or stakeholders there. Is there continuity of existence in a partnership? No, it lacks continuity. But let's look at the close corporation. Yes, it has continuity. It can continue. Right, the formation, right, can be formed orally or in writing. Right, and a partnership agreement must be signed. Close corporation must have a founding statement, must wait for a certificate of incorporation. Taxation, in their personal capacity, for a closed corporation, business pays tax on its profits. And adaptability to change is good. And for a closed corporation, right, it's fair.
Okay guys, I hope you are enjoying this revision session. If you are struggling and need help, remember to post on the Facebook page, facebook.com/learnextra. Now it's time for a break, so don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. I hope you are getting into the idea of revision. Please let us know how you are doing. I'd love to chat to you on Facebook and on Twitter. Enough of the chat. Let's get back to revision.
So we're going to be going on to the essay question now. This is they really like asking this type of question either in your upcoming prelim or in your final exam. So let's just read what they have to say here. Alright, so 3 friends, Jabulani, Melissa and Karen, are running a well-established partnership business in Soweto. They manufacture, supply and install kitchen cupboards directly to the public. Their turnover is 30 million per year and they make a net profit of 9 million per year. They have been in business for the past 10 years. They are BBBEE compliant. Right, so let's see what the question is asking us. The partners want to change from a partnership to a public company. Advise them on any 4 factors that may affect both the success and the failure of the new form of ownership. Alright, recommend whether they should change to the new form of ownership and motivate your answer. So you're going to start with your introduction again, right, where you're just going to talk briefly about what you think they should do. Now, you're going to go into your main body. So our main body is we're going to discuss what 4 factors are going to impact on the success or failure of the business, of the partnership, and the public company. And then our conclusion is going to be, as I said here, motivate your answer. Right, motivate your answer. Okay, so let's see what they had to say here. So our introduction is, the following factors will be considered because they contribute to the success or failure of the business enterprise. Right, there are legal procedures and requirements that these friends must comply with when forming a public company. Right, the correct division of profits creates more income and is important for the success of the business. Right, so you can see what they're going to be discussing here. So firstly, they're going to go into capacity. So you list the capacity, which we discussed for all the different forms of ownership. So the capacity of the company refers to the size of the business operation. Right, so they're not a small business. Right, they have 30 million rand of turnover every year. That's a lot more than the little vendors that just sell 100 rand or 200 rands worth of refreshments every day. 30 million rand, that is a lot of money that they're making. So they should be looking for a bigger form of ownership, right? Should the company be involved in manufacturing or the production process, then they will require a large amount of capital, right? So remember, for a public company, we can go out and we can get a lot of capital. We can invite people to come and invest in our business, right? So we'll be giving up some form of the ownership of the business, but in return for that, we're getting a lot more money in, and with that money, we can grow our business a lot more. Right. So success. The company acquires a large amount of capital to start up the company. Right. So if I've got 1 million shares out there, and I go and sell each share for 10 rand, that means I'm getting 10 million rand into the business that I can use to grow the business. I can go and buy new machines. I can expand the business, which is going to make me more productive and make me more money. Right. Further capital may also be required in the future finance expansion, and it requires a stable cash flow to fund the operations. Right. A company that is well managed will lead to future growth. And when BBBEE compliant, the company will have easier access to capital on the JSE. Right. Now, one of the failures of this is the formation of a public company will definitely mean a large business operation in the manufacturing and production industry. Right. So sometimes the bigger your business goes, the more headaches you get, because now you have to worry about more staff. That means more issues. You need to bring in specialist HR practitioners. So it's a very delicate balancing act. You have to see where you want to go in the future, right? And that comes again to the beginning of your vision and mission. Do you just want to be some local manufacturing business, or do you want to be a world-class business, right? This capacity requires sufficient cash flow, and should this not be available, then this will lead to the failure of the company, right? Okay, now let's look at the next one. Is legislation. A public company must be registered in terms of the Companies Act number 61 of 1973. And the public company becomes a legal person when it is registered, right? So that means that people can sue the company, right? The owners and the company are seen as two different entities, right? If the company does something wrong, people can sue the company. They cannot necessarily go after the owner and their personal assets. Right, the shareholders have limited liability as per legislation. So that means I'm only going to lose the amount of money that are invested in the business. They cannot come and take away my personal car or my personal home. Right, the company is sued and the shareholders do not run the risk of losing their personal possessions, as I said there. Right, so the success is limited liability of a public company. Right, and this also means that the ability to take risks also allows the company to show growth. Right, we have to take risks. Right, in life, every day you take a risk. Every time you cross the road, you take a risk. Right, if you just want to play it safe, you can stay at home in your bed all day and nothing will happen to you. But you're not going to get an education because you have to cross the road to get to school. So it's all about taking risks. And with businesses, the higher the risk, the higher the reward you should be looking for. Now, one of the failures is it is very lengthy to establish procedures down by the Companies Act. It may lead to the failure of the company. It takes so long to become a public company. You have to have audited financial statements for years and show that you've got enough money in there. It's not just something that can happen overnight, right? And sometimes you need that capital coming in straight away that you can get your business up and running, where if it's going to take a long time to get there, you might miss out on an opportunity. Okay. The subsequent legal requirements, such as the auditing and publication of audited financial statements, may lead to failure of the company. Right, another thing, when you're a public company, you have to have these audited financial statements, and a lot of times you'll see them in newspapers. That means your competition can see how well you're doing. And if you're not doing too well, they can use that information to their advantage and go out and decimate your company. And companies may find it difficult to meet the above requirements. Right. Capital. Right. The size of the business and the type of the product manufactured will determine the amount of capital required. If Toboko and I are going to start a company and we're going to make lemonade, all we need is lemons, water and some sugar, and there we're done. But if we decide we're going to start a car company and we're going to make cars, we've got to bring in all of those machines, those robots, so many different things that cost a lot of money. Right? So that's going to depend on what type of business you're in, is how much capital you're going to need. So companies can raise extremely large amounts of capital in terms of legislation, right? And companies raise capital by selling shares to the public. Right, so if I'm my public company, I can sell shares to the public, but the one drawback of that is that I lose control of my company. Other people can take over my company by buying all the shares out of there. Now that's something called a hostile takeover, which you guys should have learned. So we could lose our company altogether because someone else wants to take over it. So the success, a public company sells shares to the public, and the company has a large number of shareholders who contribute to a larger share capital, so we can get a lot more money from them. However, failure, poor financial results of the company may lead to shareholders selling their shares in the company. Right, so there was a large company a decade ago that went bankrupt. At one stage they were R5 a share. When the company finally, the JSE suspended their trading, they were trading at 15 cents a share. Right, now you'll see there's a lot of companies that have got their shares are very, very cheap. It's known as penny stocks. You can go buy shares in a company for 10 cents. I mean, if you got a rand, you can go and buy 10 shares there. It's quite nice. You can say to your friends you own a company, because you actually do own a bit of a company.
True.
For 1 rand. Not a great company, but still you can go out there. I mean, you look at some of the large tech companies out there, they're selling at shares at $900 a share. Right, which is quite phenomenal. Right, poor control by the board of directors over the share capital may also lead to the failure of the company, right? So there's been numerous cases of companies that where the board of directors have been very irresponsible and they've lost so much money, right? And they cannot get that money back. So that's quite a risk. That's why you have to make sure you appoint the correct people to manage your company if you're a shareholder. Right, taxation. Right, public company is responsible for paying tax on the profits, right? And they are taxed at a fixed rate as determined by the Minister of Finance for that particular tax year, right? So the success of that is that companies have more opportunities to reduce their tax liability. This can be achieved through allowances, which can be claimed as company expenses. Right, so if I own a public company and I use a cell phone, it can be used through the company and it will be claimed as an expense. Right, so I can get a lot more expenses through the company, but still have benefit to me. Right, now one of the failures is the high tax rate on profits of companies may lead to companies closing down. Now, the highest income tax rate in South Africa is at 40%, where companies are at 28%. So it could potentially be a problem if the income tax rate goes down, but for the moment, it's good to be in a company there. Right, and companies may experience cash flow problems when paying provisional tax, and this may lead to failure of the company. So cash flow, I don't have money to pay my employees. If I don't pay my employees, are they going to want to work there? No, that means I'm not going to be productive. If I'm not productive, I'm not selling any goods to my customers. Therefore, they're not going to buy anything. And it's a downward spiral, right? So we need to make sure that we monitor our cash flow. Right. Division of profits. Shareholders share in the profits of a company. They receive profits in the form of dividends. Now, the nice thing about dividends is that it's taxed at a lower rate, and it's your share in the company's profits. Now, they receive interim dividends checks, and final dividends are declared on the profits of a company at the end of the financial year. Now, different companies have different financial year ends. So at the end of their financial year, they'll say, right, we're going to issue a dividend of R1 per share. So if you own 1,000 shares, that means you'll be getting R1,000 check in the post, which is quite nice. Now, the success of this is high profits and good returns. Shareholders indicate the success of the company. Right, so the more dividends I'm going to earn, right, the higher the share price is going to be, so people are going to want to be in that company. They're going to want a piece of that company. Right, and the values of shares increases as there's growth in the company. Right, now one of the failures of this is low profits or losses sustained by the company leads to a failure of the company. Right, so if the company is not doing well, people are going to want to pull their money out of the company that they invested in. Right, and if a lot of people start pulling their money out, that means the share price is going to drop. And people aren't going to want to invest in that company. It's going to be a bad reputation there. Right, management. The management of a company lies within the board of directors. Now, we appoint those people to run our company, right? So the management is in the capable hands of the board of directors who will ensure the success for the company. So Richard Branson in his companies, he appoints directors that he thinks are experts in the field. So we're going to have the best of the best people that we think should run our company. Right, and the directors are paid directors' fees who will drive the company to success. Right, now, one of the failures is poor management by the board of directors will lead to failure. Now, we've seen that over and over again. If the board of directors do not know what they're doing, they're not going to be able to run the business properly. That goes back to the beginning. Remember the mission and the vision. If they don't know where they're going, the company is going to fail. So that's why you need to make sure that you have the best people working there. Right? And directors not acting in terms of their appointment to the company may lead to the company to fail. Right. So if we look at our conclusion, right, to start a public company involves legal matters that must be complied with, right? So you've got to comply with a whole bunch of legal laws. You've got to make sure that you comply with how much turnover you have. So it's a whole massive thing. You can't just wake up tomorrow morning and say, right, I'm starting a public company, right? You've got to comply with a whole bunch of legal requirements, right? And when managing capacity, legislation, capital, taxation, and profits, well, the company can be successful. Right, so we've got to make sure that we manage all of those things. If we manage our tax efficiently, we're going to be successful. We're going to have a lot more capital. And if we manage that capital, we're going to make sure that we are a lot more successful out there.
Now it's time for a break, so don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back from the break. Please let me know how your prelims are going. Guys, the end is in sight and your school careers are almost over. Don't give up now, push through, and remember that every little bit of extra effort will pay off. We believe in all of you, and that's why we're bringing you Spring School from the 23rd till the 27th of September, each day from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. And don't worry if you miss anything, because we'll be repeating the day's programming from 8 p.m. each evening. Get all the details at learnextra.co.za/Spring School. But for now, let's get back to today's revision.
Identify and explain any 4 possible solutions of unemployment in South Africa, right? So unemployment in South Africa is a massive, massive thing. So we have to come up with solutions to try and get a grip of the unemployment in South Africa so that South Africa can move forward. So let's see what they had to say here. All right. So the first one is businesses can be socially responsible by providing education and training for disadvantaged people through the skills development, right? So as I mentioned already, you had the Skills Development Act that businesses can contribute to, right? They could also run their own programs, which would fall under corporate social responsibility or corporate social investment, in which they can invest and go and train people in disadvantaged areas, teach them a skill so that they can go and become employed, and they can get money, and they can break out of that poverty cycle there, right? Our next one, and this is a very important one, developing of entrepreneurial skills to give persons the opportunity to create jobs for themselves as well as for other people, right? Now, entrepreneurship is very close to my heart. I think this is one of the ways that South Africa can break the unemployment cycle is by having more emphasis on entrepreneurship, right? A lot of you guys in school, you would have had to have done a business plan and learnt about entrepreneurship, right? But there has to be more emphasis on that. There's no point in people leaving school once they finish matric and they just sit and they don't do anything because they can't get into university because they don't have enough points or because they can't afford to go to university. At least if we've got that culture of entrepreneurship, people can go out there and they can create jobs. Now you must remember that all of you guys can go out and you can get a job. So I said to my matric class, there's 20 of them in there. I was like, right guys, all of you guys can go out and you can get a job. So that means we've got 20 people in South Africa who are employed. Or you can go out and become an entrepreneur. And if you become an entrepreneur and each one of you guys creates 9 jobs, that means that there are 200 people that are employed in South Africa now. Can you see how many more people get employed if we have more entrepreneurs? More entrepreneurs means more companies, that means more competition, and who's going to benefit from that? It's going to be the consumers. That means prices are going to get lowered because there's going to be so much competition, which means that people are going to have more money, and they're less likely going to fall into the under the poverty line because now they've got more money to go and buy all the goods and services that they need, all right? Which is going to uplift the whole country rather than just everyone relying on one resource, the government, right? Expecting the government to help them out. If we have this entrepreneurial spirit in South Africa and we build it up, it means more people are going to have jobs and it's going to increase or decrease the unemployment rate in South Africa, right? We could also encourage learnerships to qualify in a career field where jobs are available. it's quite a big one, right? Learnership projects, which give persons the opportunity to earn a salary while they are being trained for a specific career. So this is quite a good one. So you're going to get paid, right? You're not going to get paid an amazing salary, but you're going to get a salary, so you're going to get paid. You're able to take care of your basic needs, and you're also going to be trained in a skill. So by the time you finished your training, you've got experience, you've got a skill, and you can go out into the workforce and go and look for a job. Rather than if you just left matric, you don't have any skills, and you don't have any money, right? Then you get back into that poverty cycle. You know, you might turn to crime or other socio-economic issues, and that just creates even more poverty. Right. Job creation projects by local municipalities and other institutions. Right, so if you look after the Great Depression, how America got out of their massive slump is that they had a lot of local community projects. So you get people to build roads, and everyone would get like a little salary, so that means the entire community got more money, they could buy more goods and services, therefore businesses wanted to invest in that community, so it uplifted the whole community. Now, our local municipalities can do that. They can either have local farms where people can grow herbs and vegetables and fruit, or they could teach people skills, get people to build roads. All of those local community projects give people skills as well as pay them a salary. Right? And then the implementation of the Skills Development Act and the expanding of SETAs. Right. Okay. So the next question is, describe the term corporate social responsibility. So it's just describe it, only for 4 marks. So let's see what they have to say here. Right, so corporate social responsibility refers to the role played by corporate enterprises in providing for the urgent needs of the community in which they operate. So now, there was this big company, as I was saying earlier, around the Diepsloot area, right? They needed a whole bunch of workers there, so what they did was they built a clinic, right, so that people could get antiretrovirals, they could get treatment, all right, and they could also help give education to prevent HIV/AIDS. Now, the whole reason why they did that was because they were operating in their local community, but also they wanted to see those people, they wanted to use them as their workers. Right, so it was a very give and take. They gave to the community all those essential services that they needed, and they also took all the workers that they needed from them. So it's a very amicable relationship there. Right. This program includes poverty alleviation, education, training, and HIV and AIDS clinics, and recreational facilities. All right, so that's quite an important thing. Right, we've got to make sure that we give something back to the community. We don't just want their workers, but we want the community to flourish, and we can do that by giving them parks. So you might see in a lot of the inner city areas around the country, especially in Johannesburg, there's companies that will fix up a park and give that to the community so that the community's got somewhere to go, somewhere to relax and enjoy the sun. Right? That's a big thing. That's giving back to the community. We don't just want to, if we're a business, we don't just want to take and take and take. We must give back because we're reliant on the community. If it wasn't for the community, we wouldn't have any customers and we wouldn't have any employees. If we don't have any of those, then we don't have a business. All right, let's go on to the next question there. Right, so this is a case study. Read the following case study and answer the questions that follow. So Grinica LTA's contribution to the community. Grinica LTA strives to ensure that its work benefits as many people as possible. So that's quite important there. It benefits as many people as possible while providing stability and security for future generations. Right. So if you look there, they're talking about sustainability. Right. The group has committed itself to spending 1% of annual earnings on corporate social investments. Right. So if they had to earn 1 million rand, for example, say they said that they would spend 10,000 rand on corporate social investment, which is quite a substantial amount. Right, significant funds have been committed to the National Business Initiative, an organization created to enhance a business's contribution to South Africa's success. Right. The NBI has three main pillars to improve the status of ordinary South Africans are education, economic growth, and effective governance. Right. The group has recently allocated funding for the educational material for Maths Centre. Now, as you know, South Africa's maths is not one of the greatest in the world, so we need to pick it up, and it's one of our shortages. Professional teachers and the SACE schools. Right. Bridge building competition, which aims to increase awareness and interest in the civil engineering profession among secondary school learners. Right. So, I mean, if you look, South Africa's got a massive shortage of engineers, right? The average civil engineer's age is 59. And you guys must remember that the retirement age is 65. So it means we've got a massive shortage of civil engineers. Now, civil engineers are the people that build our roads, bridges, buildings. We need those people, because if we don't have those people, we don't have that infrastructure. That then goes again to the macro environment. If we don't have infrastructure, why do overseas companies want to invest in South Africa? Right, so let's see what they had to say here. Right, let's answer these questions. Identify 2 social responsibility programs implemented by Grinica LTA for the community. Right, so the first one is they're going to be upgrading existing schools. Like what they said there, that was one of their pillars. Right. Building new schools in urban and rural areas, and then allocation of funds for safe schools, bridge building competition. Right, it's quite a big thing for the engineers, right? Now, allocation of funds for educational material, for the Math Centre, for professional teachers, right? And the National Business Initiative enhances education, economic growth, and effective governance, right? Question B, justify Grinica LTA's decision to spend 1%. So we got to justify of their annual earnings on CSR with regard to both the company and the community. So we must justify, why must they spend this 1%? So let's see what we've got here, right? So firstly of all, it improves the image of the company. Now, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago we spoke about quality and we spoke about public relations. This is a good public relations exercise. People think, hey, look at these guys, they're spending a lot of money on us. This is what we want. We want to support them. They're not just these greedy fat cats. They're giving back to the community. Right. The company enjoys goodwill of customers and patronage. Right. Everyone wants to be a part of something awesome. Everyone wants to be a part of something good. Right. So if you can see that a company is doing good in your local community, you're obviously going to support them. If there's a company that's just polluting your local community, are you going to want to support them? No. Right. Highly skilled workers can be attracted. Example, engineers, right? The better skilled workers you have, the more productive they're going to be. The more productive they're going to be, the more money they're going to pull in. The more money they pull in, the more profitable the business is going to be. The more profitable the business is, the more likely it is to expand. And if we expand, we're going to employ more people. Right. It serves as a marketing strategy to increase sales. Right, we increase productivity through greater commitment of employees. Right, there are tax benefits for the company. This is quite a big thing there. A lot of companies want that. That means they're going to have more profit at the end of the day. It sets a trend for other companies to follow. So a lot of companies will say, right, we're giving R1 million towards corporate social investment. What are our competitors doing? So that's going to get their competition to say, oh, well, we don't want to be outdone here. We're going to give 1.1 million rand, right? Who's going to benefit from that and then? It's the community. Right, and then what are the benefits for the community? Right, first thing, job creation, right? Through job creation, we're going to have poverty alleviation, because now people are going to get paid money that they can actually, they can get out of that poverty gap, right? The standard of living of the community is uplifted, right? Uplift the education and educational facilities of the community. Right, so can you see it's a nice trend, right? If we have job creation, we're going to create jobs for people. If people are going to have more jobs, then they're going to get out of their poverty gap. If we have proper schools, people are going to get, learners are going to get the proper marks that they deserve, and with those proper marks, they're going to be able to go to university or get better jobs. Because they get better jobs, they're going to pull their families out of poverty. They might become entrepreneurs, and then they employ even more people, get more people out of poverty, and it's a whole nice upward trend, right? Rather than that downward spiral trend that we have from poverty. Richards Bay Minerals is a mining company situated in Richards Bay. Explain how the company can improve the following challenges faced by the local community. Use examples to motivate your answer. Right, so that goes to one of our questions that we had earlier, where they said, you know, if you give an example in there, what can we do? So the first one is poor educational facilities, and as you guys have seen from earlier questions, education plays a big thing there. So we could provide building new schools with technical subjects, providing resources, supporting school governing bodies by funding the appointment of additional educators. That's quite a big thing. I mean, if I look at our farm in the Eastern Cape, where my family's from, there's not a lot of good schools there, and you've got this massive youth population that just don't have good teachers. They don't have the facilities that they need. So that means they're going to fall into their poverty gap even more. And you guys can see it's that downward spiral that people struggle to get out of. Right. Next one is the high crime rate. What could they do? Right, they could create jobs for the local people, and they could also support crime prevention structures. Right, as I'm sure you guys have seen, there's a lot of companies out there that contribute to Lead SA and crime prevention lines to prevent crime, because if we've got a lot of crime in the country, people aren't going to want to invest. If they don't invest, then we're going to have high unemployment. High unemployment is going to lead to even more crime, and it's a downward spiral. Right, and then limited housing infrastructure. So what could they do? Building of houses for poor families, right, and renovation of dilapidated houses. Okay. Right, let's go on to our question 7 here. Right, this is our essay question. So now we need to analyze the nature and process of corporate social investment, right? The next part of the question is illustrate how it works, and then discuss the benefits and problems of CSI for both the business and communities, right? Use current examples to illustrate your answer. So this is asking us 3 different things here. So the first one is analyze. The second one is we must say how it works, right? And then the third one, we must give the benefits or the pros and cons for both the business and the local community. Okay. So let's look at what they had to say here. So firstly, they give the introduction. Right, corporate social investment refers to the contribution that the company makes to uplift or develop and solve problems in the community, right? So generally, most of the employees of the company come from the local community. That's what I was saying to you guys, right? We have to look after our local community, because our local community are not just our customers, but that's where we get our employees from. If we don't look after them, then they're going to leave us and our business is going to fold in. Right, so therefore, the company deems it fit to invest some of its funds in projects that are much needed by the community, right? So you could have any of those things there for your introduction, right? So social responsibility programs in nature. So corporate business engages the local community with, amongst others, the following programs. So we could have an HIV/AIDS awareness campaign by sponsoring NGOs, non-governmental organizations, right? Education and training by providing bursaries to learners, help them get to varsity in case they cannot afford it. Conservation of the environment and pollution, right? By sponsoring projects that preserve the environment, right? So if you look, there's a big There's a lot of companies that are sponsoring projects to saving the rhino, because the rhino it's an amazing animal to look at, and we get a lot of international tourists from coming to see our wildlife in South Africa. So if we can preserve our rhinos, we're going to have a lot more tourists coming in. That's going to lead to a lot more jobs. Right. Poverty alleviation by job creation, and then pensioners, deprived children, and orphans by sponsoring housing projects. Empowerment of women, very important, especially seeing it was Women's Day last week, by sponsoring conferences. And then rural development by forming partnerships with strategic businesses. So let's look at the characteristics and features of corporate social investment. So corporate social investment is mainly implemented by big business, right? Because they've got a lot of money, right? Corporate social investment is enforced by legislation. CSI is seen as a political expectation, and CSI is seen as part of the business operations and is sustainable. Because if we look after our community are going to look after us. We're going to have a lot more customers, and in turn, we're going to be able to give a lot more jobs. Right? Business organizations choose the programs for the community, right? So either they can support education, support for education, or maybe HIV, AIDS, right? They choose what they want to do, right? Business organizations support the community with the product that they manufacture, e.g. a paper manufacturing company may donate duplicating paper to the local schools, right? Which is quite a big thing there. Partnerships are formed with local communities, right? The government and non-profit organizations. And in South Africa, black economic empowerment companies play a vital role in CSI. Right, so let's move on there. Corporate social responsibility is influenced by various factors, right? So companies identify a particular need in the community and fund the project, e.g. the building of a community hall, or maybe a clinic. Right. Ethics, very important, has a decisive influence in the business, and management and employees have an important role to play in the community. Right. If we work for a company, we are the ambassadors for those company, right? We cannot go out there and act unethically, because if we act unethically, the community could turn its back on us. It also creates very, very bad publicity for us, which is going to affect the quality of our PR. We need a positive image within the community. Right. Government legislation encourages companies to engage in social investment programs. Right. Competitors force a company to engage in social responsibility programs. Right. If my competition is doing all this amazing corporate social investment, I'm going to look like a fool because I'm not doing anything for the local community. So I'm actually going to go out there and make sure that I don't get left behind. Right. So what are the benefits for the business? Right. So first of all, improved health for its workers. If our workers are feeling fit and strong, they're going to be a lot more productive. If they're a lot more productive, we're going to be able to make a lot more units. We're going to be more profitable. Then we're going to expand. If we expand, we're going to require more workers. That means we're going to decrease the unemployment rate in our local community, improve the standard of living, which is what we want to do. Sustain conservation of the environment, which may lead to a reduction in costs, which could be channeled elsewhere. So that means we could use our money and invest it in other parts of the business. This is a big one. May attract experienced employees, which could benefit the enterprise in terms of increased productivity. So as I'm sure you guys will remember, a couple of years ago in the Gulf of Mexico, there was that massive oil spill, right? That company then lost a lot of their good employees because they didn't want to be associated with this company that was polluting the environment. So they all went to their competition. So their competition got a lot of the experienced employees, which made them more productive and more profitable. Right. As I said, the community supports the business by purchasing its products and thereby contributing to the business's profitability. We look after our community, they're going to look after us. Right. The business enjoys goodwill. Very, very important. Right. This improves the image of the company. Right. And any other relevant examples that you guys can give. If you feel that you can add something in there, then you need to add something in there. Right. So benefits of CSR for the community. Right. So the community provides the labor, the customers and suppliers to the business enterprise. So we need to make sure that the business looks after them because there are those benefits for the community, right? There's provision of bursaries, right? Improves the welfare of the society, very important. The standard of living of the community is uplifted. So people have got a lot more money. Because they've got a lot more money, they can do more things, right? The business needs to give something back in the form of money, products and services. And the improved health of the community and customers. So that means that we have a lot more people that we can sell products to, a lot more people are happier with us, we all have a bigger pool of workers that we can pull from. Right. Okay, so that was for a maximum of 12 marks. So let's look at the problems of CSR for the business. The community may not support the enterprise, i.e. does not buy the product of the enterprise, right? The product might be too expensive. So say now it's a car company. Not everyone in that community can afford to buy that car. Okay. Difficulty in adherence to legislation governing the CSR. Small and medium enterprises find it difficult to implement CSR programs because CSR programs cost a lot of money. They don't always have the money to be able to afford to operate a sustainable CSR program. Right, distribution of scarce CSR resources to benefits the community may cause problems such as discrimination. We're looking after one community and not another. Then problems of CSR to the community, the benefits of the program may not filter to the intended persons within the community. There may be corruption, right? And there's insufficient provision that does not satisfy all the needs of the community, right? And it may also be rejected by the community. The business may also be hiding all the bad things that they're doing. They might be hiding all the pollution which is negatively affecting the health of the local community. So let's see what they said. In conclusion, from the above discussion, it can be concluded that many communities have benefited from CSR initiatives, yes. And corporate businesses in South Africa have to come to the rescue of many poor communities by building schools, creches, clinics, etc.
We've come to the end of today's show. Thanks to Macmillan for making the show possible, and thank you for joining us and for participating in this revision session. Remember to visit our website, learnextra.co.za/live to get the notes and to watch the videos. If you are stuck on any questions, make sure you post them on Helpdesk at learnextra.co.za/helpdesk. Don't forget to join us for Spring School starting on Monday the 23rd of September at 9 a.m. See you then.
Business is all about making money, right? And the possible expansion of the business. Now, I remember I started when I was in grade 1. My mother took me to this amazing Portuguese chicken place, and the chicken was absolutely amazing. Now, that chicken franchise, I remember the original store in Rosettenville. We loved going there. They've expanded now that they are all over the world. You can find them in Dubai, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, all over South Africa, right? Because they had good quality products. Good quality products means that we're going to be able to expand our business, and that's what we want. We want to create more employment opportunities. We want to create more money. We want to take advantage of more situations. Right. Describe the marketing function and explain how the quality of its performance can influence the success of the business venture. Right, so let's have a look there. So, right, marketing refers to the activities that involves getting the right products to the right place at the right price and advertising it in the best possible manner in order to satisfy the needs of the consumers. Right, so if we got fast-moving goods, right, we're going to want, and we're trying to capture a large audience, we're going to advertise in a large way. We're going to advertise on TV because that reaches a large amount of people. And we also have to make sure that we got the right product at the right time. There's no point in me bringing out a phone that doesn't have a color screen and that's boring now, because people don't want that. People have got smartphones. They're looking for something that enhances their life rather than something that's boring. So I shouldn't bring that product out. Okay. Now let's look at quality performance. Marketing the product at the price that will attract the customers. Right. So if you look, some products, they come across as value for money. People want that. Right. That's what they want. Some products are marketed at a premium price. They're trying to attract the top people in South Africa to go and buy their product. So they'll market a lot differently. A can of cold drink is marketed a lot differently from a very fancy sports car. Their marketing will be different. Continually changing the nature of the product, right? So we have to keep up to date with what people want. If you look at phones, before people just want to do SMS, because we want to grow our customer base, right? So let's see what they say here. Right, so fewer product defects. Right, that's massive there. If I'm at a restaurant and every second meal that is going out is not up to my standard or up to my specification, I've lost all of that money. The money that it cost me for the raw materials, the money that it cost me to pay my employees to make that, the time, and the bad public relations I'm getting. If someone walks out of my restaurant and says, oh, that food was absolutely terrible, they're going to put it on Twitter and Facebook and complain and say, don't go to this restaurant. Right, where it's the other way around. If the food is absolutely amazing, you're going to say to your friends, if you want an amazing meal, go there. You're going to get value for money and the food is absolutely amazing. Next, that comes into place there. More consumer satisfaction. If your consumers are satisfied, they're going to want more of your product. So when I go to this pizzeria that I've been going to since 1989, I always want more. I will travel an hour just to go and get a pizza from them because I know what I'm getting from them. I know it's going to be quality. Right? Lower production costs, that's massive. Again, that comes into the restaurant example. If every second meal I'm wasting all my raw materials and my ingredients, I mean, that's costing me money. Where if I'm doing it properly, I know I'm using my resources efficiently and effectively. So it's going to add to my bottom line and make my business a lot more profitable. We got higher productivity. So if I got quality and my employees are quality, that means they're going to be able to work more. Right, so if we go back to that football example that I gave you, if I've got the best players in the world and they work hard and they know what they're doing, that means they're going to achieve a lot more. Where if I have inferior football players that don't know what they're doing, I'm going to have to work even harder to try and get them up to the basics. That means I'm not teaching them anything new, right? And they're not achieving our vision and our objectives and our mission that we set out in the beginning of the business. Right, we have increased sales by word of mouth. Their products are of good quality. That goes back to my pizza example. Right, people want to go there. They're like, this food is absolutely amazing. And then they're going to tell someone else. Where if you have a bad experience with someone, you're not going to want to go back there. You're going to tell your friends, avoid there. All right. Right. Increase profits. Right. If I'm using my goods effectively, then I'm going to make sure that I'm selling more. The more products I sell, the more money I'm going to make. And that's what we want to do in business.
Hi Mindsetters, welcome to today's Grade 12 Business Studies show, proudly brought to you by Macmillan. We have selected highlights from lessons shown early in the term to help you revise. You can download the notes for today's show from learnextra.co.za/live. Now it's time to get on with today's lesson. Please post your comments and questions on our Facebook page, facebook.com/learnextra, and on Twitter @learnextra, so we can help you with your revision.
All right, so the first question is, describe 4 benefits of implementing quality control measures in the business. Right. So obviously, as you can see there, if we got a good quality product, we're going to be able to sell lots of it. Right, so that's one of our benefits there. Tebogo, do you know any other benefits? What do you think?
Benefits of?
Of quality control in the business?
Oh, okay. You get to see if your product is obviously good enough for everyone.
Right, absolutely. We get to see if our product is good enough for everyone. Right, so you need to have that in there.